Good morning, everyone. Wow, that was a good response. I'm Natalie Thompson, a member of your parish committee. Happy to see everyone here on this freezing day, and those joining us online as well. Special welcome if there are any visitors here today or anyone new to First Parish. We're so happy to see you, and we invite you following the service to join us downstairs for our social hour. Our mission is to build community, search for meaning, deepen our spirituality, and work together to make a better world. If you have any questions about First Parish or Unitarian Universalism, someone from our membership team is always downstairs at the welcome table during coffee hour. They can answer any questions. And Reverend Lisa and Kate Holland are always available too. Reverend Lisa is our minister. Kate Holland is the director of Lifespan Education. We're always grateful for all the many people that make the service happen, who come early and stay late, so we're thanking them. Their names are in the order of service. And please remember to silence your cell phone for the service. So join me in saying hello to each other for a minute and welcoming and waving to those online. And now we have a message from the Stewardship Committee.
Good morning. I'm Larry Green, and what you see here is your Stewardship Committee. It's grown a little in the last couple of years. 2 years ago it was just I, and then Laurel, and this year we've strong-armed Jim into helping us out. This morning we're here to share information about the upcoming stewardship suppers and brunches, which will happen on the weekends of February 21 to 22 and February 28 to March 1. These meals will be hosted potluck style in congregant homes. All three of us will be hosts, as well as 5 members of the parish committee.
Good morning. The only way to attend these informal and fun meals is to read your February Unitarian or upcoming e-blast. So you want me to read that again so nobody misses it? Be sure to read the upcoming weekly e-blast or the February Unitarian. Find the stewardship column and click on the link to a sign-up genius form. Does anybody know what a sign-up genius is? Okay, sorry. We promise that these events will not involve fundraising. They are opportunities to deepen feelings of community and connection while experiencing good food and delightful companionship. What's not to like?
So raise your hand if you are one of the 75 people who attended one of these gatherings last year. Raise both hands if you intend to attend a gathering this year. And if you had a good time, wave your arms. So we hope to see 75 or more people attend this year. Once again, the suppers and brunches are February 21, 22, and February 28 to March 1. And the only way to attend them is to look for the link. Thank you. We hope to see each and every one of you there. So now, if you would please join me in saying our congregational covenant together. The words are printed in your order of service. With open minds and loving hearts, we gather to search for meaning, to care for one another, and to work together for a better world. Being welcoming involves the vulnerability to be open to others, open to being changed by others, Welcoming is an act of radical loving kindness. We light the rainbow candle this morning to celebrate our congregational journey thus far toward welcoming and allyship. It's crucial that we remain engaged in this effort at this time of intense emotional fear and anguish within the LGBTQIA+ community. The Trevor Project reports that 90% of LGBTQ young people said recently that politics negatively impacted their mental health. We light the second candle, our transgender color candle, in recognition of the specific targeting of this beloved community. As of this weekend, 351 anti-transgender bills have been introduced across the country in 41 states, including Massachusetts. We need to step up as allies and raise our voices against this legislation. Thank you.
Good morning. Oh, you can do better than that. Come on, wake up. Good morning. There we go. My name is Kate Holland. I'm the Director of Lifespan Education here at First Parish, and my pronouns are she, her. And crazy enough, they have given me the opening words this morning, and not the story. So there you go. This morning, we recognize and recommit to being a welcoming congregation, to being a congregation that values and insists on loving people of all identities: lesbian, gay, straight, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, and intersex, and more. This is our pledge. We are with you, no matter how you identify, no matter what obstacles you face, no matter how hard the road is ahead. You are not alone. And to our transgender siblings and families, we see you. We love you. We're sorry that we haven't done more, and we will fight for you today and every day. I have this poem to share with you. It is called "It Starts with a Spark" by Linda Susan Ehrlich. There you go. A quick flash that makes you doubt your senses, but then a tiny ember glows on the braided twine and brings a flame to life. Soon you find a candle sitting on a table, desolate until its wick touches yours, and suddenly the brightness has doubled. In an instant, the warmth has grown. This intensified glow draws others like a beacon, 5, 10, 50, hundreds maybe. But fellow travelers seeking the road ahead, the people begin to move forward. No matter how far the line stretches, no one is left to fend for themselves. Everyone makes progress, or no one does. In the distance, bands of other beacons now beckon. Proof of other sparks that become blazes. The air crackles with anticipation as everyone approaches the center. There, the scales are balanced. There, the broken are healed. Now you know what it means to be love. Now you know how to illuminate the sky. Welcome, friends, to this time of worship. And please stand if you are willing or able for hymn number 188, "Come, Come, Whoever You Are." And look, it's Charlie Anderson. Is it because it's around? My favorite. No, it's really not, but that's okay. I love Charlie, though.
We've done this one before. It'll be great. We'll split into 4 groups, by the windows, by the aisle, and by the windows over there. Polly's going to play 4 measures to lead us in so we know what notes to sing. And then we'll all sing it together once from top to bottom. And then this group will start, this group will come in. I'll cue in each group for extra credit. When your group is done, you can sing the last phrase, "Come yet again, come," until everybody's done. All right? All right, Polly, bring us in.
I met David 30 years ago. David hired me to consult about a house that he and his wife were purchasing. Not long afterwards, David asked me to assist him with work in a building his business owned. David's attention to detail, his passion for logical design, and his impressive engineering skills were most evident. As the years and then the decades have passed, we've worked together on dozens of projects and have met hundreds of times. A year ago, we started work on renovating a space in one of his buildings. David came to one of our regular design meetings looking notably different. The typical casual clothing one associates with a mature male was partially altered, incorporating the finer fabrics often worn by women. As the technical agenda of our meetings were resolved, David's desire to explain his appearance became evident. David explained, a little timidly, about his views of the fluidity of gender identity and that he had for many years liked the name Lisa. I listened carefully. This was not a dramatic encounter for me, but I believe Lisa felt a level of vulnerability that David would not have felt. For Lisa, I was a colleague with decades of history. I was a person who always met with a person whose name was David and who looked like David. Was Lisa wondering, what would Brad think? What would Brad say? What would Brad do? I never felt that my reactions would be hugely decisive for Lisa. Her journey of transition would proceed with or without my acceptance. But I also know that our long history and built-up trust was far too deep for Lisa to not care about my thoughts and my actions. As the weeks passed, Lisa has continued to enlarge her outward presence as feminine. She has transformed her wardrobe, her physical gestures have changed, and she's using facial makeup. Although my role is clear to me, I don't always know how to play my part. When do I simply listen? When do I nod with affirmation? When do I speak with understanding? I don't always get it right. It's hard to remember her name is Lisa, to remember to say Miss instead of Sir. I ask myself, what must it feel like to reveal to others that you have a desire for a way of expression that is not typical and that some find abhorrent? When I remember to remember that question, it's easy to support Lisa as she becomes more of herself. But for the most part, our meetings have not changed. We're still a couple of engineers who think discussing subcooling in a condenser is a stimulating conversation. She's the same person I've known for years, and I believe I'm the same for her. I've known David for 29 years. I've known Lisa for 1 year. I've known the same person for 30 years. I'm pleased to know them both.
So it was a good reminder, I think, to remember that if we come with love and curiosity to those we know with any of the changes they have, I think, and if we act in love, that it helps us get to know and feel more comfortable as we move along. And remember, they're still the person we knew. So I'm going to invite my friends to go off to their C classes this morning, and you all are going to sing us out Gariamos Odie, right? Yes. Yes.
As chair of the Welcoming Congregation Committee here at First Parish Wayland, I want to thank our 3 congregants who are sharing personal reflections this morning, Brad Keys, Jada Williams, and Lucy Pease. I know that each of them has worked hard to get their words just right, and I honor their willingness to be up here and share their stories and some vulnerability with all of us. So this morning we are sharing our offering plate with Out Metro West. Out Metro West builds communities where LGBTQ youth thrive. Our programs connect youth with a network of supportive peers and adults and provide education and social, emotional, and mental health support. Out Metro West now serves over 350 LGBTQ+ youth and families across 30 towns west of Boston with 20 free monthly programs. They also train hundreds of individuals annually through their community education sessions, helping local corporations, municipalities, and churches build LGBTQ+ inclusive cultures. If you are new and this is your first time with us, please let the plate pass you by. You are our guest.
Schmidt. Ooh. My pronouns are she, hers, and I am a lay minister of this congregation. This is the time in our service that we set aside to acknowledge the joys and sorrows that we all hold. In both our sharing and in our witness, we affirm our covenant to care for one another. In these frightening times, as we face the uncertainty of the road ahead, we light our vigil candle in solidarity with all who are living in fear. May the love which resides here offer hope, strength, and peace. If you have a personal joy or sorrow and you would like to share, please feel free to come forward. Now and/or raise your hand and I will bring the mic to you. Sorrows not spoken. May we hold in our hearts those who have spoken, those they have named, and those we hold in silence. May it be so.
Friends, will you please join me in the spirit of prayer? Spirit of many names and beyond naming, in this time of shock and awe, when it is so very difficult to find hope, when dread and doom lurk in the corners of our hearts, and it is so easy to default to a jaded and empty nihilism. We will not give up our faith and our belief in something better. We will not abdicate religious language and the moral narrative to those filled with hate. We will not withdraw to isolation and sadness, as tempting as it may be. We will not release what we know to be true and right for the sake of keeping the peace. We say no. Instead, we will find strength in the holy and the divine. We will be fortified by each other in community. We will center down into our religious values of generosity and justice, pluralism and equity and transformation and independence, and most importantly, love. Let each connection with another be filled with a sacred and holy love, a love that, as Reverend Abi Janamamchi says, won't let us down, let us go, or let us off the hook. Trusting in the goodness that abides beneath it all, we open our hearts to that deep and abiding love. May it be so. Amen. And now, in your pews, please sing with me as we come into a time of quietness, There is a Love.
I am 83 years old. I have known relatives and friends in 4 generations who have identified as LGBTQIA+. This is my story of learning the language of welcoming. The first generation was my father. He knew he was gay, and also knew he loved alcohol when he was a teenager. He felt that he could be bisexual when he met my mother in college in Los Angeles. They married. Both my mother and my father were generous people. They wanted the best for me and my 2 brothers. Our mom told us stories that made us feel proud about school in Cambridge, going to law school, the Army Air Corps in World War II, and later I experienced live in 1954 his defending those who were subpoenaed by the House Un-American Activities Committee. There was no mention in our home of homosexuality. His homosexual relationships were a secret. There was no discussion of his alcoholism, even though we witnessed it daily. I was very much stuck in the destructive fiction that being honest and authentic about being gay was dangerous. I am the second generation. I have been lucky enough to know and learn from open, skilled, talented, and caring gay and lesbian colleagues and friends. These people had the courage and pride to come out publicly. They challenged me when I said that gays and lesbians should just keep their relationships a secret. Their courage and authenticity helped me begin to heal my own fears and limitations. My daughter's generation turns 40 this year. In 2003, they demonstrated with hundreds of others at the Massachusetts State House to support same-sex marriage. In May of 2004, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court, SJC, ruled that it was unconstitutional under the Constitution of Massachusetts to allow only opposite-sex couples to marry. I was proud that Massachusetts was the first U.S. state to enforce gay rights. In my daughter's generation as well, there are talented gay and lesbian authors and playwrights who are telling their stories. It is with the 20-year-olds, my husband's grandchildren's generation, that I feel even more pride and joy and peace. One young woman smiled and said affirmatively, "I always knew I was gay." She loves sharing pictures and stories about mountain climbing and celebrating with her lesbian friends. We've also had the beginnings of an acquaintance with a young non-binary cousin who joined us on the beach and helped us old-timers put out a campfire. Thank you for listening to my story of learning the language of welcoming. I am very grateful to be part of this First Parish community.
Good morning. My name is Jada Williams. My pronouns are she, her. I became a GSA advisor. GSA back 20 years ago was Gay Straight Alliance, and today it is Gender Sexuality Alliance. I became an advisor for this 4 years ago, after 17 years of teaching, mostly in the closet as a gay person. As I began learning more about the lives of transgender and gender nonconforming children and teens, it occurred to me that what they were going through today was similar to what I had gone through at their age, and that I had been doing nothing about it. This is the group of young people most vulnerable to depression and worse. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, LGBTQ+ youth are more than twice as likely to experience depression. In today's political atmosphere, where walls of protection are crumbling down, while young children of color at least have their families to support and understand them, LGBTQ+ youth are often left on their own, with families who do not understand, or worse, refuse to try. These young people are in desperate need of allies. Allyship eases the burden of the most vulnerable and makes us all better humans. Ayesha Siddiqui, who is a scientist, author, and advocate for children, said, "Be the person you needed when you were younger." I realized that I needed to step up and work with other allies to help the teens in our school. GSA meets weekly and is a place where students can talk about things in a safe space that is judge-free. Sometimes they're sharing their fears or frustrations. Sometimes they are brainstorming how to make changes in our school. Spaces like this help with their sense of belonging and foster empathy among their allies. The advisors, simply by being an advisor, become people they can trust. Because of one of last week's executive orders, tomorrow afternoon, GSA advisors and our school leadership will meet to discuss what we are and are no longer allowed to do or say. Although taking this leadership position at school made me feel more vulnerable, I know that just by offering this space and showing up and listening, I'm doing better than any teacher I ever had. One unintended consequence has been hearing my own son being an ally for his LGBTQ+ friends. Allyship is one way we can lean into our UU values.
Thank you, Emily and choir. This is me. First of all, to Brad, Lucy, and Jada, thank you so much for your words, for your courage, for showing us the way. When the moment came to show up you did. When the time came to be allies, you accepted that challenge. When the call came, you answered it with love. Thank you. As I prepared for this sermon this week, I did so with my heart broken over and over. In times like these, as your minister, I want to offer comfort, hope, reassurance that all will be well eventually. I want to give you inspiration to lift you up, to lift us all up. And friends, I don't need to tell you that it is hard right now. It is very hard. When Laurel and Kate and I were planning this service, it was weeks before the inauguration. We were all in a bit of that state of, how bad can it be? They can't really dismantle everything, right? Not our hard-fought and finally won LGBTQ+ rights, not same-sex marriage, not transgender rights, right? We were still hopeful. And then came the last 2 weeks. Has it only been 2 weeks? Because it feels like a year. Back in those before times, we decided to talk about being allies and how important it is to show up and speak out, to be part of the solution, not adding further to the problem. We didn't know that it would so soon be necessary. We didn't know that once again in our country's history, it could mean life or death. To rephrase Martin Niemöller's famous words, first they came for the immigrants, and I did not speak out because I was not an immigrant. Then they came for the public defenders, and I did not speak out because I was not a public defender. Then they came for the transgender folks, and I did not speak out because I was not transgender. Then they came for the poor, the disabled, women, and I did not speak out because I was none of those. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Those words, which formerly seemed to echo from a much harsher time, feel more ominous than ever these days. And being an ally to people who identify as LGBTQIA+, or simply on the queer spectrum, may take more courage in the weeks ahead and be even more life-saving than ever. Now, I have a story too, and I'll try to keep it brief. I thought of it when Jada sent me her story. As a matter of fact, Jada, when I read your story, I wept. The idea of educators in Massachusetts needing to meet to discuss what you are or are no longer allowed to do or say, well, that just broke me. And it reminded me of my years in the late 90s as a charter school principal in the city of Lynn, Massachusetts. Those were my early coming out years. I was a late bloomer in my mid-40s, and I was barely out to my family and close friends. I began to tentatively identify as lesbian, but not at school. Lynn was not the most welcoming city for queer folks at that time. There was a sizable contingent of anti-gay evangelical families, and I didn't know one fellow school administrator who was out as gay. We did have one gay male special ed staff in an unspoken don't ask, don't tell situation. But I was pretty sure many parents would feel very uncomfortable with a queer principal. And I worried about the reaction of the Board of Trustees, who were constantly worried about appearances and public opinion. In short, I was scared. We had started a girls group for the 5th and 6th grade girls, and it wasn't long before the girls, with their pre-adolescently heightened gaydar, started insisting that they knew I was gay. And why didn't I come out? And that was even more terrifying. I did manage to convey to them, without acknowledging my own hidden identity, that even though we adults may look powerful all the time, sometimes it doesn't feel safe for us to come out at work. We were teaching them about being allies for each other as kids of different races, religions, and economic backgrounds. This was one more version of allyhood. Let people decide for themselves if, when, and how to come out. It was simultaneously an important lesson for them and for me. How times have changed, right? Being gay, lesbian, or bisexual is widely accepted in most places in this country. Same-sex marriage, though it may be threatened at some point, has been Massachusetts law for over 20 years, as Lucy mentioned, and US law for nearly 10 years. Over that same time, rights for our transgender siblings have lagged. 2 Democratic presidents took some positive steps forward, but as we know, the current administration has already undone all of that and more with their hateful defending women from gender ideology extremism and restoring biological truth to the federal government executive order, which, by the way, does nothing whatsoever to protect women or to restore truth. Now, I don't want to dignify this hateful edict by recounting its many bigoted assertions, but the statement alone that only 2 genders will be recognized in the US has been a gut punch for our trans family members and their loved ones. And it should be gut-wrenching for all of us as well. Roxane Gay, a Black queer feminist writer, in a 2015 interview with Ta-Nehisi Coates, recounts, "When I asked him about allies, he said, I think one has to even abandon the phrase ally and understand that you are not helping someone in a particular struggle. The fight is yours. Being an ally is hard work," says Gay. "We need people to stand up and take on the problems born of oppression as their own. We need people to do this even if they cannot fully understand what it's like to be oppressed for their race or ethnicity, gender, sexuality, ability, class, religion, or other marker of identity. We need people to use common sense to figure out how to participate in social justice." Roxane Gay exhorts us to actively listen when marginalized people tell you about their oppression. Don't offer your pity. Don't apologize. Speak up when you hear people making homophobic jokes. Take the lead when you see injustice in action, because an ally likely has more privilege, and recognizing that privilege, they are powerful voices alongside oppressed ones. Take a stand instead of waiting on their lead. We don't have that kind of time, says Gay. We're fighting for our lives. As it has sometimes been said, this is not a dress rehearsal. We must advocate strongly for all students to have access to affirming learning environments when the new administration threatens protections for transgender youth in our public schools. We must actively declare that love is love and is both legal and legitimate to the legislators in Idaho trying to change the state's tax code to not recognize same-sex marriages. We must stand firm in our belief that every person deserves the opportunity to live openly and safely as opponents of equality in Washington work to gather signatures to put an initiative on the ballot that targets transgender people. We must keep showing up. Ultimately, all the actions we take in moments like this to lift up our shared humanity will move us along the path toward justice, because they are fundamentally acts of unconditional love. These are the words of Cornel West. Every other time our communities have experienced moments like this, we have joined arms and rooted ourselves in unconditional love and mutual support. In this moment, as we did in those, we must remember that there is no safety in silence or in waiting apart on the sidelines. We cannot allow walls to be constructed between us or borders to be built around us. We cannot allow people to be targeted for who they are or who they love. We must all find ways to continue to show up over and over again for those whose lives are being threatened and for the values we hold most dear. Justice is what love looks like in public. Justice is what love looks like in public. We should all be proud that Cornel West's prophetic words are on a banner posted on our church lawn right now.
We UUs speak out on countless issues when justice demands, and the new administration's relentless attacks on transgender Americans, especially youth, is one of those times. We know that children thrive when treated with love and acceptance, and that they wither when they are rejected and scorned. The new policies announced by the administration are nothing short of bullying, and they will damage hearts and minds. Bullying is not acceptable in our UU culture. It should not be tolerated anywhere. When you see something, say something, as the saying goes, and we are seeing plenty right now. Many of us have witnessed bullying, harassment, racism, homophobia, or other acts of oppression, and not known what to do. We stand by, helpless, or maybe we fumble in there, at least we're trying, and also maybe we make things worse. There's an art to being an effective ally, to being an active bystander. If you want to learn how to speak up, how to usefully intervene when bullying happens, consider signing up for the bystander training First Parish is hosting on March 9th. As the saying goes, be part of the solution. I'm going to close with the words of Rosemary Watola Tromer from her poem, Because. So I can't save the world, can't even save myself, can't wrap my arms around every frightened child, can't foster peace among nations, can't bring love to all those who feel unlovable. So I practice opening my heart right here in this room and being gentle with my insufficiency. I practice walking down the street heart first. And if it is insufficient to share love, I will practice loving anyway. One willing heart can't stop a war. One willing heart can't feed all the hungry, and sometimes, daunted by a task too big, I tell myself, what's the use of trying? But today, the invitation is clear, to be ridiculously courageous in love, to take love seriously, to give love wildly, to feel the shock of indifference, of anger, of cruelty, of fear, and stay open. To love as if it matters, as if the world depends on it. Dear friends, may we all, in every moment, in every interaction, be guided to answer the call of love, to love as if it matters, as if the world depends on it, because it does. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. And now, a couple of words about the hymn we are about to sing. In 2004, as we in Massachusetts were in a heated battle over same-sex marriage rights, Jason Shelton was inspired to write Standing on the Side of Love, which is number 1014 in our Teal hymnal. It became a beloved anthem for justice of all kinds, resulting in the UU Side with Love campaign. Before too long, members of the UU disability community began asking why we had to stand when many of them rolled. The word stand made them feel invisible, just as race and gender discrimination laws had made blacks and women invisible. So Jason changed the lyric and the title to Answering the Call of Love. And some people might take issue with that, but here's what Reverend Bill Sinkford had to say. When the suffrage movement decided not to include the vote for black women in their advocacy, they left so much work for us to do. And when marriage equality was presented as salvation for every queer individual, it left transgender folks with a different battle to fight. What I know is that a partial promise will always remain only part of a promise, he said. Half of a loaf may be better than none, but it always remains half a loaf, and somebody is going to go hungry. And I also know that answering the call of love is great religious language, and that I am happy to claim it, because we are called as liberal religious people, called by love, and called to answer by praying with our lives. Amen? Amen. Now please rise as you are willing and are able, and join in singing Answering the Call of Love to the tune of hymn number 1014 in the Teal hymnal. These are the words of Julian Jamaica Soto. To be free, you must embrace the breadth of your own existence, without apology, even if they try to take it from you. You must know not that you can do whatever you want. You must know instead that inside you are entire universes, milky blue, magenta, and gold, expanding. But to actually be free, you must know and you must fight for the entire universes inside of everyone else. Being free is not a license, but a promise. Beloved friends, may we keep the promise that we made here today to celebrate, honor, love, and fully welcome all members of our queer family, no matter how or when they show up in our midst. And now take all that we have shared here this morning out into the world. Be a blessing to all those you meet, and may you yourselves be blessed. Amen.